This is extremely valuable health. There's many extremely valuable health benefits from sauerkraut. And this is Kambucha, which is a fermented drink. And we're going to learn about how to make it and all the health benefits of that. And we're also going to talk about fermented cabbage juice, which is another side benefit of sauerkraut. And we're going to talk specifically today a lot about the health benefits of these fermented foods. And these are things that you can make yourself. You don't have to buy anything. And the more you learn to make things at home yourself, the better. You're self-sufficient in that way. And you're not depending on industrial production and commercial production. You're in control of quality as well as the quantity of your personal health maintenance. As we say every time, an ounce of prevention is worth tons of cure. So learning these simple, time-tested, and what do we say, cultural foods that have been evolved over thousands of years and have been proved to be beneficial and are basically very inexpensive is a great asset for your personal health and maintenance. Otherwise, we fall into the healthcare system in the United States, which can be good in some ways and extremely bad in other ways. Especially today, we hear a lot of information, a lot of alarming headlines coming out about antibiotic-resistant bacteria. In fact, there was an article this past week about a woman in Massachusetts who has been diagnosed with antibiotic-resistant bacteria. First case in the United States. That means that no existing antibiotics today in the United States can fight that bacteria. Well, that's dangerous because what if that bacteria spreads to other people? Because bacteria are communicable in many cases. That means that the medical institution and establishment in the United States is disarmed. They have nothing to treat it with. So these fermented foods are something that build up your body's natural immune system to respond to usually any bacteria, any negative bacteria that might invade your body. It builds up your own body's resistance. So therefore, if you, let's say you're in an airplane, which is basically a tin box, and you have like 300-400 people there, and people are breathing in and out, exhaling, and many people get headaches and often get sick after a very long flight, or at least uncomfortable. Why? Because the air is being recycled. There's tremendous pressure, let's say, changes by going up, 30,000 feet in an airplane. Although the airplane is pressurized, still your body feels it, and you can catch a lot of, let's say, bacteria in the airplane just by going to the bathroom or touching something or just breathing the air. And if you have a strong immune system, you can resist all that say negative pressure on the body. But if your immune system is weak, just like there are many sicknesses, like for example, people get the flu shot in the beginning of winter. Why? It's especially recommended for young children and elderly persons because both of those categories have weak both immune systems and they're prone to be easily getting sick. Whereas someone has a strong immune system, even if the flu virus is going around, someone next to them can get sick, they don't get sick. So this is shows the value of being able to maintain your own immune system so it responds effectively to any type of outside bacterial or viral infection that's spreading around. And traditionally, native people have used these fermented foods as their natural antibiotic. In other words, an antibiotic is something that kills negative bacteria and viruses. And a probiotic is something that builds up your immunity to protect you. So these are called probiotic foods. And by eating probiotic foods on a regular basis, you maintain your immune system so that it can respond to disease. And besides that, there are many other benefits, and we're going to discuss that. So first of all, let's take a look at the sauerkraut. The way to make sauerkraut, and I demonstrated it in the previous seminar, you start with cabbage, and you cut it or slice it in small pieces, and then you put it in your jar. This is a glass jar, and then then you smash it. And now there's different ways of making sauerkraut. This is the way I make it, but there are other methods also. So you smash it down until it gets a little wet, right? Because it starts releasing some of its natural juices. And then you add some salt to it. Now, first of all, you have to start with a clean container. Now, the problem today is, I looked it up today just to be sure. Next door to us is the Sammamish water district. And I looked and see what they put into the water. So they do put in Sammamish chlorine and fluoride. And that would be let's say, an obstacle to making really good fermented foods. Because fermented foods, they ferment by positive bacteria, like Lactobacillus acidophilus and others. So if you use normal Sammamish water to wash your container, there could be a residue of chlorine. And chlorine is a killer. It's a very dangerous chemical. Of course, they only put a little bit in the water. And why did they put it in the water? To kill any negative bacteria. Now, they draw the water from a very deep well. I mean, before this temple was built, we had a natural well here. It went down 180, 200 feet. And when you go deep down in this high plateau, this is the Sammamish Plateau, used to be called the Sauerkraut Plateau. There is an underground river coming from the Cascade Mountains going down all the way to Lake Sammamish. And we happen to be in a place where if you go straight down, you hit that river. So the water is an underground river, and it represents an ideal condition for, let's say, energized and living water. Those ideal conditions are 1, darkness, 2, coolness, 3, fast flow. When a river flows fast, it means it's very vibrant, and when it flows, it forms waves and vortex movements. If you can hike up to Tiger Mountain and other small mountains on the I-90 corridor, if you watch any of the streams coming down from the mountain. There's one place in North Bend where you can actually go swimming in the stream. It's a very fast flowing and very cold stream coming down.
Snoqualmie Falls.
Near there, but yeah, I mean, you're not going to go into the falls because you'll go over, get killed. No, it's another stream. It's on the mountain hiking trail. And if you look at that stream coming down from the mountain, it's moving very fast, the water is cold, and there are a lot of vortex movements. A vortex is based on what's called implosion technology. Today, the main sources of energy in the world are based on explosion technologies. Like, for example, you put gasoline into your carburetor, right? And then spark plug ignites it and it explodes, right? And it makes the piston go up and down. And that turns the shaft that makes your wheels turn, right?
Combustion.
Right. So that's called explosion technology. Almost all sources of energy in the West are based on explosion technologies, right? But there was a German scientist named Victor Schauberger who was a hydrologist. He was a water engineer, and he studied rivers and streams. And he learned a lot just by looking at the rivers and streams. He learned that, first of all, rivers meander like this. They don't go in a straight line. Right? Secondly, he saw that there are some rivers that move slowly and other rivers that move very quickly. Right? The ones that move slowly, he noticed, didn't have a lot of fish and other things in the river. But the rivers that move quickly, they were vibrant with a lot of living entities. And therefore he understood that by letting a river move naturally, it's going to meander like this. And when the banks of the river are full of natural native plants and trees, it creates a shade for the river. And the combination of the meandering path of the river, the shade, and what you call a natural habitat on both banks creates optimum conditions for the health of the river. And therefore, the coolness, the darkness, the meandering path, and it helps the river flow fast, and that fast flow creates vortexes. You know, a wave is not exactly a vortex, but it's the beginning of the vortex. A vortex is like a tornado is a vortex. So you have a smaller diameter at the bottom and a bigger diameter at the top. Anything that touches the tornado goes up. So therefore, it'll take away a roof, it'll take away a car, it'll take away so many things. A tsunami is a type of vortex also. So tsunamis take away buildings, entire buildings. So Victor Schauberger realized that nature's most powerful manifestation is a vortex. Even more powerful than a volcano. Of course, a volcano is an explosion, right? But he realized that vortexes are more powerful than volcanoes. And therefore, based on his observation, he began to do things that were incredible. Like, for example, usually you have companies like Weyerhaeuser. They log trees on mountainsides. Now, how do you get the tree trunk? Now, many of these trees, like the trees we have here, these fir trees, they go up, 50 feet, and they weigh many, many tons. How do you bring that gigantic tree trunk down the mountain? It's not an easy thing, because oftentimes you can't get a tractor up a mountain, and you can't, get a truck up a mountain or a pickup or something. So he devised a system of, let's say, wooden constructs that could carry water. Right? And the water was only maybe 2 or 3 feet deep. But because he used the techniques that he learned by observing rivers, he built the channel, the wooden channel, in a meandering way, coming down the mountain. And it was fast, the water was fast flowing because it begins at the top and gravity brings it down quickly. Therefore, the water became energized and was able to prop up or float tree trunks that weighed thousands and thousands of pounds, tons. But the water was energized by the movement, and it created vortex movements of the water. Therefore, you could bring these gigantic logs down the mountain to the lower land where they could be loaded on trucks and moved. Then he was assigned to dams in Germany, and the dams have turbines that are turned by water, and it creates electricity. He devised a vortex turbine that turned out to be much more efficient and much more productive than the regular turbines that they had been using. Later on, he used this turbine, his vortex turbine energy, to produce flying saucers. At that point, he was put in jail by the Nazis. Because, not that he was a criminal, he wasn't a criminal. They didn't want anyone to have access to this man because of the knowledge that he had. And they used his knowledge to produce jets and rockets that were much more effective than anything the Americans or Russians were ever able to produce. In the 1930s, the American rocket technology and Russian rocket technology was on the level of firecrackers. And the German technology was so advanced that they had rockets that could be successfully shot from Germany to London, England, and hit the target that they wanted. That's how advanced they were. So after the war, the Americans and the Russians seized German scientists so that they could, advance their rocket technology. And Schauberger stayed in jail after the war, and on the American side. And then in the 1950s, when he was very old and somewhat sick, they let him out of jail. And at that point, he was brought to the United States, but when he saw how the Americans wanted to use his technology, very similar to the Nazis, he refused to cooperate. And then he went back to Germany and he died. So here's a man who learned advanced technological principles simply by observing nature. And it was all based on the movement of water. So, the body is made of more than 70% water. So if we learn, what Schauberger's theory was this, that nature performs miraculous acts by modulating the temperature of water between cold and hot. And therefore, he understood how to control or how to capture the power of water through modulation of temperatures. And just like in your body, in Chinese medicine, they talk about dryness and wetness. And in Ayurveda also, they talk about heat and cold in the body. So certain foods produce heat, certain foods are cooling, and they analyze the body and its different temperatures, and then they can understand how to treat a sickness. Okay, so here's sauerkraut. So once you begin with your, let's say you begin with your level of cabbage, then you pound the cabbage and it releases some of the liquid that's in the veins and of the leaves, and then you put some salt on it. I usually use the real salt or Himalayan salt. And then you make your next level. My next level is spinach, fresh spinach. And then again, you pound it somewhat, and that makes it press down, become more, let's say, freeze, get the air out of it. And then you put some more salt, and not too much, but some. Then I put another level of cabbage, and the same thing, pounding, put some salt. Then I put some carrots, then some more spinach, then some more cabbage. Then I put some red bell peppers, which are full of vitamin C. Spinach, of course, full of iron and many other nutrients. Then some more spinach, some more cabbage, and green bell peppers and chilies, until I came to the top. Then usually you have to press it down. So in the class that we had, I had a plastic bag full of water, and I put it on top, press it down, right? And then you cover it with a cloth and a rubber band. And you leave it alone. And I usually leave it on top of the stove where it's warm, because the fermentation moves faster when there's heat. And then you'll see that the liquid increases, and sometimes it comes out, there's so much of it. And if it's pressed down, then air doesn't come in, so there's no, let's say, mold or anything. And then after about a week or two, you have sauerkraut. And you have cabbage juice also, or vegetable juice. Okay, so now what we're going to do, because there's all these different layers, I'm going to take some out. All right, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, get some of all the layers. Okay, now here's our sauerkraut. You have some spinach, you have some red bell peppers, you have cabbage, you have some chilies, you have green bell peppers. And can you bring a strainer? Now this is ready to eat. And it has a slightly tart taste, and it's full of positive bacteria. Now, what does sauerkraut do? There are 7 health benefits of sauerkraut. And what's the secret to sauerkraut's health benefits? Fermentation. Fermentation is something. Okay, now you can also extract some of the juice. We're extracting some of the juice, so we can also take advantage of that. I can show you the way to make a lot more cabbage juice, which is another probiotic drink. Now, normally vegetables will only last for 2-3 weeks before they begin to rot. When you ferment the vegetables, they'll last 6 months to 1 year. If you keep them refrigerated, it's almost indefinite. So this is a great way to have raw food all winter long. You make a large batch of sauerkraut. I remember my parents used to make a big barrel, and we would have it all winter long. And this is traditionally done in Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia, and also pioneers did it in America too. So this fermentation technology was the common people's way of keeping healthy and also being able to eat in wintertime. Sometimes, they didn't have supermarkets and shopping malls, and they didn't import their food from Mexico and South America during the wintertime. So there were different ways of having food in the wintertime. Because in the dead of winter, it's hard to grow something. So they would either can their food, but there's a problem with canning your food. If you don't do it right, it develops serious toxins. We had family members who canned food, and then in the wintertime they ate it. The whole family died. The whole family died because they didn't can properly, and the air got into it, and it developed these serious poisons, and they died. Father didn't die. The mother died. Children died. Grandparents died. They all ate it. With sauerkraut, you don't have that problem. The acidity protects this, and the liquid full of positive bacteria, and the acidity that develops naturally, Lactobacillus acidophilus. Acidophilus. So it protects the vegetables from developing any poisons. So we have